Britain is sinking gracefully, while smiling from afar. Is China the discreet banker, who never blinks? And now comes a twist. As most of us wrestle with bills, Britain might be drifting into a Chinese debt trap. One borrowed pound at a time. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer acts like it's just business as usual. Imagine owing your neighbor money, yet he decides when your lights stay on. That's Britain, today. Let's break it down. Hit subscribe, because this story is exactly the kind they hope you'll forget. It started quietly, like all dangerous things do. Prosecutors dropped charges against 2 alleged Chinese spies. No trial. No reason that made sense. Why? Because the government refused to call China a threat. Let that sink in. The same people who tell us to stand tall and tighten belts could not even whisper the word threat when staring straight at a hostile state accused of espionage. You can almost picture the meeting. Lawyers asking for permission. Ministers shaking heads. Someone muttering, "We don't want to upset Beijing, do we?" A door closes. A sigh of relief, not for justice, but for diplomacy. And just like that, the case vanished. Now Britain looks less like a proud island nation, and more like a customer begging for a refund on courage. That alone would be humiliating. But then came the financial truth. Hundreds of billions in British debt sit in overseas hands. And a fair slice belongs to China. Economists warn we're balancing our books on someone else's abacus. They call it market dependency. I call it common sense gone missing. Because if Beijing sneezes, Westminster catches a cold. And if they ever cash in, Britain might discover it's mortgaged its independence without reading the fine print. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer takes the podium. Sleeves rolled. Voice calm. "We're in control," he says. Of course he does. My toaster said the same thing before it set off the fire alarm. Let's talk debt. Politicians' favorite blame game. Britain owes over £2 trillion. That number lost meaning long ago. Imagine stacking those coins, pound after pound. They'd reach the moon and back, almost 5 times. And here's the kicker. We're paying interest on every single one. Most of it's domestic. But a big chunk. Foreign investors. When asked how much China owns, the Treasury shrugged. No data. No clarity. Nothing. The Americans know exactly who holds what. Britain. We're flying blind, through a storm, eyes politely shut. Economist Edward Yardeni warned. China could show displeasure with our policies, just by moving its bonds. They don't need to send spies. They can send an invoice. We've seen this before. Nations borrow, can't repay. And wake up to find Beijing owns the port, the mine, the pipeline. Call it patience. Call it strategy. It's power without invasion. And yet, Starmer's government keeps pretending ignorance. Chancellor Rachel Reeves claims fiscal control. Translation. She's juggling flaming torches over a barrel of petrol. Borrowing costs are at a 27-year high. And we're told it's fine. But here's the thing about cycles. They always come back around. Every pound borrowed abroad is a vote of confidence we owe someone else. And too many of those votes come stamped made in China. 2 threads now twist together. The spy case and the debt trap. Former Minister Tom Tugendhat accused the government of selling out. Kim Bad-Enoch demanded strength. Anne in Downing Street. Aides typed new talking points while the kettle boiled. Starmer insists. It's not political. Right? And the Titanic sank because it fancied a swim. Let's be honest. When you refuse to call a spy, you're not being diplomatic. You're being afraid. Fear costs money. Imagine your neighbor steals your garden hose. And you keep inviting him for tea. Because he might invest in your shed someday. That's Britain's foreign policy. Meanwhile, Beijing says no product made with Chinese minerals moves without their approval. They are weaponizing dependence. And Britain walks straight into the trap. Smiling, nodding, asking for a discount on solar panels. If that's not power, what is? Conservative MP Alicia Kearns warned. If we don't wake up, we'll be totally dependent on China. She's right. Dependence is just a polite word for servitude. But here's where it cuts deep. This isn't about spy thrillers or numbers on paper. It's about us. Our bills. Our taxes. Our national dignity, sold off for short-term ease. Picture Britain as an old manor house. Grand. Proud. But with scaffolding everywhere. Starmer walks through the halls like a new landlord. Painting the doors while the foundations crumble. Strong economy, he says. Global partner, he says. All while the roof leaks, and the bank owns half the deeds. Economists call that interdependence. I call it renting your future. When the spy case collapsed, it wasn't just a courtroom failure. It was a message. Britain won't bite the hand that feeds it. And China doesn't need to push. It just waits. Every year, we borrow more. Every year, we owe more. Each time, we sell a little more silence. That's the real scandal. Not the spy that vanished. But the silence that replaced him. And it goes deeper. Because what happens when debt becomes influence? Policy bends. Quietly. Slowly. A softer tone here. A dropped prosecution there. A missing word in a report. Drip. By. Drip. Until one day, you wake up. And independence has doubled its price. The debt trap isn't a cage. It's a maze. You walk in thinking you're free. Until every turn leads you back, to the same red wall. But let's not end in despair. Outside Westminster, the noise grows louder. Britons aren't fools. We see the pattern. Every pub chat. Every talk show. Every kitchen table. People are connecting the dots. We pay the taxes. We feel the inflation. We watch spies walk free, and wonder what sovereignty even means anymore. That's where hope starts, with awareness. Because once you see the strings, you can cut them. Britain doesn't need to be rich, to be strong. It needs honesty. Leaders who fear the people, more than they fear losing Chinese money. The Prime Minister will keep speaking of balance. The Chancellor will promise stability. The Bank of England will mumble about targets. And far away, in a boardroom lit by red lanterns, someone will check the figures. And smile. Because Britain is still paying interest. The question isn't whether China owns us. It's how much influence we'll sell before we finally say enough. This isn't about left or right. It's about direction. And whether we still have one. If that makes you angry, good. If it makes you think, even better. So, what do you believe? Is Britain still steering its own future? Or merely renting it? Subscribe to Alert View. And share your answer in the comments below.